Hello everyone, welcome back to Into Sports. I'm your host Evan, and NFL Week 7 approaching, so I'm going to do my power rankings, and I'm ranking these teams based off how good they are. Not necessarily their resume, but just how good the team is. Going to do my top 10, starting with number 10, New England Patriots. They only have a 2-3 record. Both Cam Newton and Bill Belichick, they're still a great team. Now, they lost to Kansas City, but that was with Hoyer and Stidham. I don't really care. Honestly, if they had Cam Newton in that game, that defense stopped Mahomes enough. They probably would have won with a competent quarterback. Now, last week they lost to Denver at home, but they weren't able to practice for like 10 days, so I don't read too much into that loss. But the lack of receiving weapons is finally starting to show. Julian Edelman, kind of washed. N'Keal Harry, not a good selection from a few years back. There's not enough receiving weapons for Cam Newton, but he's so good, he can make plays on his own with his legs, buy time, allow his receivers to get a little bit of separation. Patriots at 10. Number 9, New Orleans Saints. And this offense has been ugly, but they've scored plenty of points. And now Michael Thomas is coming back. The problem is the defense has been torched. The secondary, penalties, blown coverages. Dennis Allen, their defensive coordinator, runs a very complex defense, and that's not good for a season with a limited offseason program. Now, Drew Brees has been average at best, not the top 5, top 10 kind of guy he has been last couple of years, and this team is limited by a lack of downfield explosiveness, so that's the weakness for New Orleans. Number 8, Buffalo Bills, 4-2 record. Yeah, they've lost their last 2 games, but they played the Titans and the Chiefs. Now, Josh Allen was lighting the world on fire in the first few games. He's come back down to earth, but I still think he hasn't been that bad. I'm not bailing on Josh Allen. I'm still in on that hype train. And especially when he's throwing to a guy like Stephon Diggs, who I think is a clear-cut, bona fide top 10 receiver in the NFL, can separate down the field, can separate middle of the field, separate at all areas, speed, explosiveness, even makes contested catches. But the problem is actually the defense. And if I would have told you that before the season, you would have been shocked, because this was a top 5 type defense last 2 years. And I expected this team to win roughly 9 games because of that defense with Sean McDermott, guys like Tre'Davious White on that defensive end. But it hasn't been good. I'm not exactly sure why, but it's been an offensive team in Buffalo, relying on Josh Allen to make plays with his arm because they haven't had a good run game. Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, they've been unable to get it going, and they've allowed a lot of yards on the ground defensively. We saw that with the Chiefs running the ball on them 46 times. So Bills at 8. I expect a better few weeks than we've seen the last 2 games. Number 7, Tennessee Titans. Ooh, that's a little bit low. This team is 5-0, but they dominated the Bills on Tuesday Night Football. That was their big nationally televised game. We all saw it. But in their first 3 weeks, they played Minnesota, bad, Jacksonville, bad, Broncos, bad, and they won those 3 games by a total of 6 points. And then they had to go to overtime at home to beat the 1-5 Texans. And frankly, they only won because they won the coin toss. The Titans could not stop the Texans last Sunday. But the NFL overtime rules are the most idiotic thing in sports. You win the coin toss, you win the game. You lose the coin toss, you lose the game. So now we're deciding football games by the flip of a coin? That's absolutely ridiculous. They say they want a better game. Roger Goodell, I don't really think he does. If he actually wanted a better game, he could change the overtime rules, make them like college football. My worry with the Tennessee Titans is the tackle position. Losing Taylor Lewan to an ACL injury, and they lost their other tackle, Jack Conklin, in free agency. So last year down the stretch, when Derrick Henry was running for like 150 yards per game, they were running behind those elite tackles. Now they're on a project first-round pick out of Georgia and just a below average, kind of backup caliber tackle on the other side. But it helps Ryan Tannehill in pass protection that they have good play action game because it kind of neutralizes the edge rushers, the pass rushers. And that's the key to this team. Ryan Tannehill playing very well, being very efficient, not leaving anything on the field, and them just dominating in the play action game. So I like the Titans, but they've had one good game and four mediocre games. Number 6, Green Bay Packers. Yeah, we all saw it last Sunday, losing the game of the week pretty badly to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aaron Rodgers was absolutely phenomenal the first 4 weeks. He was playing, he was the MVP of the sport, first 4 games. Now, last game, he was under pressure so much. Tampa Bay was in Rodgers' face all day. There was no run game to speak of. So I don't blame Aaron Rodgers for that loss. I know he threw a pick 6. The other interception was tipped. That was just a bad team effort by Green Bay. And the defense has not been good enough. They've given up points galore to the Lions, to the Saints, to the Buccaneers, to the Vikings. Defense needs to step up. Otherwise, this offense is going to have to carry the load. And they've struggled when they faced elite pass rushes like Tampa and like San Francisco twice last year. Number 5, Seattle Seahawks. They were on bye last week, but it's the Russell Wilson show. It's the DK Metcalf show. Those guys are unbelievable. This is probably the best quarterback wide receiver duo in the NFL, rivaling Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill. And what I love about this team is what Pete Carroll has done this season. I've been critical of Pete Carroll in the past because I've said, you have arguably the best quarterback in football, but you're only letting him throw 20 to 25 times a game. This guy's not a game manager. This guy is a throw it every down and you'll go to the Super Bowl type guy. And Pete Carroll has let Russell Wilson off that leash, so I love that. But the problem is the defense isn't any good. They're going to get Jamal Adams back, which is going to help significantly. But the secondary struggled. Can't really stop the run. But Russell Wilson is the reason Seattle is at 5. Number 4, undefeated Pittsburgh Steelers, 5-0. Chase Claypool, second-round wide receiver out of Notre Dame, has been an absolute stud so far this season. He had a monster game, 4 touchdowns versus the Philadelphia Eagles. He had a touchdown last week against Cleveland. They dominated Cleveland. They pushed them around. They get so much pressure on the quarterback with their front 7. But the problem is, the secondary hasn't been as good as it was last year. They gave up a ton of yards to Carson Wentz, throwing to guys like Travis Fulgham. So the secondary is the weakness, but they still have Big Ben and Mike Tomlin. Now Big Ben, it hasn't been phenomenal. It's been middle of the pack quarterback. I'd say 14, 15, 16 type of play. He hasn't had to make a ton of plays for this team to win because they're winning on defense. They're running the ball with James Conner. Steelers at 4. Top 3, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I know they're 4-2, but we saw what they did on Sunday. And the thing is with Tampa, Tom Brady can be an average quarterback, and this team could still win the Super Bowl because of the defense, because the secondary has really stepped up. It's a young group, but they've really been good this season, and even good down the stretch last year. They're getting a run game going with Ronald Jones. They did not have that last year for Jameis Winston. No run game to speak of a year ago. And now they're getting healthier on the perimeter with Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. Tom Brady just going to play like an average quarterback, just going to distribute, just going to make plays within the system. And this team, very good because of defense, because of weapons. Love the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 2, I might get criticized for this, but I'm going Baltimore Ravens. They're 5-1. Now I consider this team to be the Milwaukee Bucks of the NFL. They crush bad teams. They win a ton of games in the regular season, but then they crumble in the postseason. This is still a great defense, great secondary, Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Peters, and they still have Lamar Jackson. He's been very good. He's still a top 5 caliber type of quarterback. And this Ravens team got exposed by Kansas City, but everything else has been pretty smooth. I know it was a close game with Philadelphia, but they were winning by like 17 late in the third quarter. Philly just kind of came back in garbage time with Wentz, nearly actually won that game. Number 1 spot, it's obvious, it's not complicated. Kansas City Chiefs, they have a loss, I don't care, whatever. Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek Hill, Watkins, Edwards-Helaire, Andy Reid. This is just a stud team. I don't know how you stop them offensively, and the defense is good enough that this team should be the favorites to win the Super Bowl without a doubt. And they're probably going to come out of the AFC at least. Now they signed Le'Veon Bell, but Le'Veon Bell makes absolutely no difference for the Chiefs. Running backs have no value in the NFL right now. You know, Christian McCaffrey goes out, and the team is better with Mike Davis. So I don't care that they signed Le'Veon Bell. It's not a bad thing, but I'm just not going to lose my mind because they signed, a 28-year-old running back. It's kind of losing a step. But Kansas City, they're just phenomenal. There's no way to stop them. You can kind of play soft coverage, but then as they've shown, they can run the football like they did 46 times against Buffalo. So thank you so much for listening. Drop your thoughts down below in the comments. Maybe subscribe, leave a like if you're that generous. I'm your host, Evan, and I'm out. Peace.